was the process like for you? You know, backing up a sec, going to the DC writers' room.
Yeah.
What was the submission process? What was that like? What was the process like being in the room? Let's go through it all.
Yeah, I mean we can do it. So I was the first year that it was open to the public, I also submitted and I didn't get in, and I was obviously like a little disheartened, but whatever. I mean, it was
You can't give up. I mean,
it's like-
Jim Lee, you see those rejection letters
yeah.
every few years. You know, it's like.
Well, and I talked to the people who ran the program, and I kind of talked to them about their mission, and I felt more into it and really excited about it. And I talked to people who had done it, and I felt like I really wanted to do it even more. And so it actually really worked out. This is another dumb story, but so I'm friends with a couple people at DC, and one of the people is Sarah, who was in charge of under handling us, I guess, for the talent program. And so I was coming when I visited from New York last July, I was in town, and they hadn't announced the winners yet, so I didn't know that I was in it. And I was talking to my other friend at DC, Andrea, and she was like, "Oh, you should come to the office, and you and Sarah can grab lunch. That'll be really nice." And I'm like, "I would love to do that." And she's like, "Yeah, we'll give you a tour. It'll be great." And I'm like, "Okay." And the day I was supposed to go into the office with them, a friend texted me and was like, "Did you get into the DC workshop?" And I'm like, "No, I just have like a lunch with friends there." And they're like, "Oh," and they got really awkward. And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Oh, well, I heard emails went out today." And I was like, "Fuck." And I was like, "Am I gonna get a rejection letter from DC on my way to DC from the person I'm having lunch with?" And I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna suck." Or am I not gonna hear from them? I'm gonna spend all day like trying all lunch being like, "How do I not mention that I know I didn't win?" And I got there, and I looked around the office, and I talked to some people, and then they're like, "Oh, you should meet Bobby, and she's in charge of like the talent program." I'm like, "Okay." And I went in there, and then I went in, and I sat down, and I was talking to them, and then they shut the door behind me, and they were like, "Oh, well, speaking of the talent program, we wanted to offer you a spot." They like ambushed me. It was like awesome. Super sweet. They're like, cool. Like, "We wanted to offer you a spot," and I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, we sent out everyone else's like acceptance emails like 2 or 3 days later, but since we knew you were coming in, we wanted to like surprise you."
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really like a lifetime highlight. Like,
that's so cool.
I
love it, man.
I nerded out really hard. I was so ecstatic, and I definitely like made an idiot out of myself. Like, I'm like squirming in the chair. I'm like, "Really? You're not messing with me?"
I love it.
But yeah, no, and then the actual program was awesome.
Scott Snyder was running it, or
it was Scott. It was all over like a Skype program.
Okay.
Although like we would meet up at cons and stuff like that. But yeah, it was Scott, and then the writers in the program were me, Max Visaggio, Robert Jeffrey, Phillip Kennedy Johnson, Sene Anwa, Joyce Posido. I didn't forget anybody, right?
David Acampo? Was he?
No, he was the year before. Whatever. If I forgot someone, they can come beat me up, and I'll feel like such an asshole. I think I got everybody. But yeah, our writers' room was small. It was just us and then Scott, and then sometimes other people from DC would come in, and the artists were separate doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But
because Sia was this year.
Yes,
right?
in the artists, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think she was this year.
Yeah.
I know Isaac, Goodhart, Domo. Maybe not Sia this year, actually. She might have been last year.
I thought she was this year. I could be wrong, but I thought she was this year.
I only know a couple of them. But yeah.
right on cue.
But no, it was awesome. Scott's, because he is a professor, so he's an amazing teacher, and the workshop was run really well, and they're very helpful, and it was just fun. I mean, like, we were just writing DC books, not published things, but writing scripts and working them out, workshopping them, and doing all this stuff. It was rad.
So what was the process like after you left the program? Were they like, "Okay, well, now you know who to pitch to, or now you can pitch to this person"?
A little bit like that. We have every the workshop does that showcase thing. So it's the annuals of short stories. So that will be coming out and will be announced soonish.
Okay.
So I will have a story in there, and from there it's a matter of like talking to people once that comes out. With a lot of with Marvel and DC, but other for hire companies too. It's a lot of like, well, let's not talk about your second book until your first book is done. Yeah. Which is, I think, smart.
Yeah. You don't want to get people like, "Well, we didn't see this first thing. How come?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, why are we giving this guy a fucking series when he's only written a backup story and it hasn't even come out yet?
That's crazy. And then
Yeah.
you've also done work for Boom with Adventure Time.
I did an Adventure Time short. That was really fun. I loved Adventure Time. So it was like a
No-brainer.
blast.
You're like, oh, you just get to write stuff I love.
Yeah, it's like awesome. And it was even the because they have the 2 Adventure Time series. They
Yeah.
have Adventure Time and then Adventure Time Comics. And Adventure Time Comics, it doesn't count, so you can just like tell any story. It's
That's
just
so
like go wild
fun.
with it. So I was like, yeah, let's go like heavy metal with Adventure Time characters.
I love it.
Yeah, it was a blast. They were fun to work with.
That's really cool.